Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?
On immigration
are still a nation of immigrants.
Illegal immigration.
An illegal immigrant.
If you are an immigrant in the United States, should you be allowed to stay?
We have no idea who they are, what they do, where they came from.
Hi, I'm TT Masfakeni, and I am not an American citizen. I was born in Harare, Zimbabwe. Harare is the capital of Zimbabwe. Whenever I was around one, my father passed away. And so my mother decided a couple years later that it would be best for us to immigrate to the United States, just so we would have like a better life, more opportunities, better education. And so when I was 4 years old, me, my older sister Nasha, and my mom immigrated to Texas. So I am a first-year graduate student in the political science department, and my undergraduate degree is in political science as well. My day-to-day life is pretty much always reading or writing a paper or discussing politics with people, because my major kind of is like if you're not going to law school to be like with your political science degree, you're going into academia. So you're always kind of just talking about the current, world going ons. But when I'm not doing like schoolwork, I'm typically hanging out with friends. I really like to hang out at my church. I'm an intern there. And so I spend a lot of time at the church, and most of my friends are through the church, so I hang out with them. Immigration is a very prominent topic right now within the current administration. It's spoken about a lot in the news and within government officials. And I think it has affected my own personal ties with the immigration process in America, because it has been taking a longer time on average for people to become permanent residents and become citizens. And so what my family expected to take a few months is taking much longer. And it's kind of a disheartening topic, because you see your friends and like coworkers and people that you're close to speaking about immigration, and at being not only a political science major but also being an immigrant, you just want to tell people like what you really think, and you want to like change their minds about certain like aspects of immigration, but you can't, because it's just a very polarized topic right now. Will Joyce is a member of the church that I currently attend / work at.
I know TC from church, actually. We go to church together, and she's involved in our youth program.
He started talking about being mayor and campaigning and all of that good stuff, and I was like, well, I'm a political science major, and if you need help, then let me know. And that conversation of me just asking if he wanted help turned into us having a meeting about what all I could help with during his campaign.
TC and I sat down and talked early on about some college sort of outreach. Wanted to have someone on campus who could kind of help me talk to some college students, or maybe initially we talked about get out the vote, about the idea of making sure college students at OSU knew that they can vote in Stillwater, and that it's a good idea to vote in Stillwater.
One of my biggest passions as a political science major is an educated citizenry. Like, I just want people to know why it's important to vote, and to know why why what they're voting for is important and what they're voting for, the reason that they're voting.
She mentioned that she wasn't a citizen, she couldn't vote, but she was interested in politics and would love to be involved in the campaign.
So it's sign time?
It's sign time. It's time to wave some signs around and get people to vote.
It's a weird feeling, not just working on a campaign and not being able to vote, but being a political scientist and having pretty much, at least 50 to 70% of my day surrounded by politics, surrounded by governmental, going-ons, and not being able to vote is pretty much one of the most frustrating feelings that I feel like anybody could have. It's not just about your responsibility as a citizen. It's also about the community and the camaraderie that's created from saying, like, I voted and I made a difference, and I, even if my candidate doesn't win, or even if the law that I'm trying to get, passed doesn't pass, I still was able to voice my opinion, which is not something that a lot of people in this world are afforded the right to do. America was created for immigrants, and I know that's a bold statement, but even from the inception of this country, from the idea of sending people over from England to America, they immigrated. Our founding fathers, ancestors immigrated to the United States. And then as the Constitution was birthed and this idea of this country was solidified, they were creating this American dream where anyone and everyone would have the ability to come to this country and have the equal opportunity to increase the quality of their life. So to care about immigrants is to care about Americans. And so I think it's important that you care about this topic because your neighbors are immigrants, your friends are immigrants, your leaders are immigrants. So everyone's life is surrounded by immigration. So it just doesn't make sense not to care about the topic. We are on our way to Dallas right now to see my family. I am super close with them, so I'm super excited to see them. I go to see them a lot, especially during the summer, but I don't get to see them a lot during the semester, so this is a special trip.
The way people, they talk about America, it's like I was thinking everything is going to be very okay. Since I have a degree in my country, I'm okay. When I came here, I find out that, one, you cannot use your degree of Africa. Two, because I know that in UK as a student you can work, but I saw that they allow me to work first time, then they say, because I didn't have the type of work authorization, so I can work. I started to work in budget suites hotel, and they say, oh, so because I was working in hotels, they say, oh no, so we can work for housekeeping, and then I was getting like $6 per hour, and it was really hard.
When you're a kid, you are not really aware of the situation you're in, but when I look back, I'm just like, well, we really struggled when we were younger, but it was just like, it was okay. Like, my mom made it as normal as possible.
When we look back at some of the things that we thought were normal, they weren't normal to other people. We moved around a lot, I remember that. So there was never really a time, I think not until like middle school, end of middle school, there was never really a time where we stayed in the same place for too long.
I was blessed because I was after the other phase which we were just talking about, I was married with my husband, my second husband. And he had a green card. He won a green card lottery. So we were blessed that we didn't went through that. We have to go through a lawyer. We just did it straightforward. But we had a challenge that we didn't have money because I was not working a good job which can make me to do the papers together, three of us. But when we get the papers, that's the time when President Obama was there. Because I hear that people, they were saying they've been waiting for 2 years, 3 years. But when I get there, when we put our papers there, that time, mine, I think when I went for the interview, it was like 2 weeks, I got my green card. For Nyasha was the same, for Tsitsi was the same. So that is the time when the only challenge which I get for me to file is that I didn't have money. But the time why I want to make it a difference is like we put our green card, three of us together, but them, they were not qualifying to file citizen under me, so they wait for 5 years. Me, that time, that's the same time when President Obama was there. I filed for 3 months, and I was called for the interview. I get my citizenship. Now them, when they are 5 years, it was last year, they put their papers up to now for citizenship. Nyasha is now turning about 1 year, 3 months. A lot of people, they are saying it's 1 year, 3 months. Since even they return a paper back and there was a confusion, and then later on we redo it again. We call all the time, it's on pending. So it's like, it's a problem. There's a situation in this kind of issue. I don't know why it changes, that the other time it will go fast, the other time it will be like, okay, that one I don't know. But now we have a challenge of their citizenship now. Most of immigrants, when they come to any country, they are focused. They are really focused. So it's not like a game, like I'm just coming here to do some things or, like that. It's few people who are like that. Most people, when they are coming, they come for opportunity, which even most of the people here, they don't grab that opportunity. Me, if it means that all my kids can have PhD, I can force them to do, because that's why I'm here.
As my mom was saying, she came to America for us to have a better education. So it's like when you're a child, you listen to that all the time. So it wasn't like, oh, like I'm going to take a year off, or I want to figure out what I want to do. Like, it was just like, you just went to college to go, and then you figure it out when you get there. It's like my mom wasn't like, you can do whatever you want. This is like, it was just like, when are you going to college? Because we need to keep this ball rolling. So yeah, that's some pressure.
I'm not here. I'm not even enjoying anything because my cousins are not here. My mom was here, but I don't enjoy here. I just work. But I'm going to enjoy when I go back home. But I came here specifically not because I'm poor, I'm coming to get food stamp and do some things, or no. I came with the focus that my kids has to have the best life, and my great children and my great grandchildren, they will talk about me even if I'm no longer there. That's the story of me.
My mom, like, we had to, our major, everybody else gets their freedom, but my mom was just like, you need to get this major to get you money, to be successful. Because it's just like the pressure of like, I came here because of you. And it wasn't like in a mean way, but it was just like, okay, I came to America for my children to have a better thing, so you don't want to disappoint them. So it's just like, I'm gonna do something stupid, and it's just like her half of her life was wasted. That's what it would have felt like if I didn't go to college, or if I dropped out of school, or if I didn't do the right major and suffered in America. Like, it would be just like, wow, I wasted my mom's life, and her only purpose was to better us, like, in America. Like, she dropped everything.
The first, if I had to describe the immigration process in 5 steps, the first step would be you obtain a visa to get into the United States. Once you do that, you would go and apply for your green card. Then you hold your green card for at least 5 years with no felonies or infractions on your record. Then you would start your citizenship application process, and then after you get through the process, pay all the fees, do all of your interviews, then the last step would be induction into this great country. So right now I'm on the 4th step, which is the citizenship application. And I've sent in my application. I've gotten my fingerprints done. So now I'm waiting for background checks to be processed in Zimbabwe as well as in the United States. And then after those are processed, then I will get an interview and I hopefully will become a United States citizen.
So we shouldn't forget that we're talking about a president-elect that has pledged to deport 11 million people from this country.
In the immigrant communities, news of any deportation leads to fear.
They're sending people that have lots of problems. They're bringing those problems to us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. And they're rapists, you went on to say.
Well, you look for them from a strategic perspective. Well, let me back up and say there's 2 different kinds of threats. If you're looking at individuals versus threats against a nation state. So you have state-sponsored strategic threats, you know, the China and the Russias of the world, Iran, North Korea. And then what the U.S. intelligence community tries to do is look at those tactical threats. So you got the strategic threats and the tactical threats. So you have nation-state strategic. Then at the tactical level, you try to identify the needles in the haystack, the individual threats that could either pose a national security concern to the United States internally, or perhaps even be working for one of the nation-state actors such as Iran, China, Russia. I think that our system since 9/11 has been designed to locate and identify persons that are national security threat. And when you break that down, that would be of the counterterrorism variant or the counterintelligence concern, spies. So the system is pretty good at finding those individuals and either deporting them or arresting them for, you know, a violation of federal law. So I don't generally believe that the immigrants to the United States pose that kind of national security threat. That strategic strike on the U.S. soil on 9/11, much like the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor, caused draconian measures to take place. So that doesn't surprise me in the least from a historical perspective that we've seen those kinds of actions. But this many years after 9/11, you would hope that there would be some lessening of those kinds of restrictions. But unfortunately, what you find with bureaucracies or nation states in general, like the United States, that once you have these policies and procedures in place, it's very difficult to roll them back.
Currently, I'm waiting for the background checks to come back in. Once those are cleared, then I would go in for an interview, take my test, which is a 2-part test. The first part is a multiple choice test, and they just basically ask some American history questions, some government questions, And then the second part of the test is just an English language test to see if you know the basics of American English.
We are on our way to the coffee house, which is my favorite place to go and hang out and study. And we are going to ask real life citizens questions from the naturalization test. So we're here. I've got my book with all of the questions. Let's go see what citizens know. What are 2 cabinet level positions?
Legislate? No. Cabinet level positions. Governor? No.
What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens?
This is something only citizens can do?
This is like, yes, only citizens can do this, and they're responsible to do, like they have to.
Oh, it's considered a responsibility.
Yeah.
Paying taxes? No.
How many amendments does the Constitution have? Some common misconceptions about immigrants is that we're lazy and that we take people's jobs, which is not true. Some of the most hardworking people I know are immigrants because they have to work hard. They don't have time to be lazy. Growing up, like my parents worked 2 to 3 jobs each to support our family. And so, how can you be lazy when you're doing that much work, you know? Another common misconception about immigrants is that we don't pay taxes, which is really frustrating because we do pay taxes. We do pay the same taxes that other people pay, and it would kind of be impossible for us to do a lot of different things if we didn't pay taxes. Another common misconception about immigrants is that we are leaving our countries because we're criminals or we're running away from our problems, when really it's just America and Americans advertise this American dream and this better life, and so we come to this country not because we're running from something, but because we're running to something. We want to be a part of that American dream. We want to develop better lives for ourselves and our future children and our families. The most frustrating one is that we're not educated, which is pretty frustrating because I would consider myself to be a pretty educated young woman, and to say that an entire population of people is uneducated because they're not from America is pretty ignorant. I actually strive for education. My entire life has been, you're gonna get an education whether you want to or not. So one of the things that I found out through my time at OSU is that I'm really passionate about an educated citizenry. So I want people to go out and vote, knowing what they're voting for and understanding why they're voting the way that they are. And so while I can't say that I think that I had a direct impact on the amount of people who voted for Will, I can say that I had some really great conversations with college-age students about the importance of voting and how their vote impacts their daily lives, and not only that, but why they vote the way that they do, how they can figure out why, how to vote in a way that is in their best interest rather than influenced by their parents or their friends or a club or an organization that they're in, but really like what affects them and why voting is so important to their everyday lives. And so it was mostly the conversation, I'd say, was what I feel like was my impact on the election. You know, Will is a great candidate, and he's Stillwater born and raised, so a lot of people voted for him because of that. But I can say that I was able to not only impact like this election for some students and some young people, but possibly future elections that they'll be voting for their representatives or even the president, because they have a better understanding of voting. Shithole countries. Just kidding. I'm from a shithole country according to Donald Trump.
But if she get a leadership in anything, I'm confident that she can be the best.
I'm an immigrant. I always forget that I'm an immigrant till like a moment happens or whatever.
I've never had to go through becoming a citizen, so I'm not real sure what that process looks like. I bet it's harder than becoming mayor.
She's super involved in politics, and it's kind of funny because she can't vote for anything.
She'll get there.